No sports topic is out of bounds. You found the MN Sports Blitz. Along with former Minnesota Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway, here's Joel Niemeyer.
And good day. Welcome back to another edition of the MN Scores Blitz. I'm Joel. That is the former Minnesota Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway. Good day to you, Chad.
Hey, good day, Joel. How things going out there?
Doing very well. And a little birdie, namely Twitter, said it was your birthday this week. Happy birthday.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. It's always it's an adult birthday now, so they're not quite as exciting as they were when you were a kid. It's getting older is not that fun, but it was still nice. Got to spend the day yesterday with the wife and took you out to lunch and coached some basketball and did all sorts of fun stuff.
There you go. For me, I never was a birthday cake guy. I'm a more birthday pie. So I look forward to my kids baking me my birthday pie, and then I'm a happy man on my birthday.
I like that. That's a good idea. I've never been a birthday. I'm like an ice cream cake guy. It's always the best, the Dairy Queen ice cream cake look. Yesterday we had donuts in the morning and finished off with some good candies that my wife bought. So it was a good day.
That's not a bad day either. And also in not bad days for a lot of these high school teams, you're talking MN score stuff. I mean, now here in mid-January, I mean, you're starting to get toward the end of the season. You're starting to think playoffs, and it's starting to get fun for the winter sports.
It is, yeah. I mean, you're kind of right in the thick of things. You know, you pass Christmas break, and you're kind of getting to the second half of the season now. We're kind of right at that 50% mark, and things are starting to take shape. I know for my daughter's team, it's getting to the thick of the schedule, and you're getting 2-3 games a week, and in some cases you're making up for postponed games. But just looking around the state, you know, hockey and hoops is in full throttle, and this state has a massive appetite for it. It's unbelievable the talent that's produced here, and just really fun to watch the teams and kids compete.
And for everybody out there, whether it's hockey or wrestling or basketball or whatever, hope everybody's staying safe, because you normally in the wintertime you're getting some colds, you're getting some flus. Pandemic still it's going on. There's injuries, so there's a lot of things pushing these kids here this year.
Well, there's so many different factors that you don't normally have in a normal season. So it is interesting to kind of see the kids, coaches operate, and the kids get ready to play, and then not have a game and kind of move back and forth and kind of keep that freedom mentally. But kids are used to it now. A couple of years into this whole process, they're kind of used to the ups and downs, and they've been dealing with it. And again, like I said, it's just to get a chance to compete at the high school level is so unique and fun, and you're glad that we're putting it on.
Well, let's go and talk a little bit about the disappointing Viking season, as we'll go to the NFL for the most of the rest of our chat here. And for the Vikings, could never get it going consistently. I don't think they had a losing streak over 2, and I don't think they had a winning streak over 2. So kind of a meh kind of a year for the Vikings.
Yeah, you nailed it. Kind of a meh, exactly. I just think that's the team they become. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to reach and find a level of consistency and getting in the W column more than the L column, and we just found too many ways to lose. I mean, creative. I'll give the Vikings some creativity. I mean, they definitely have that, but just frustrating to say the least when you're dealing with that kind of stuff. And I think for all Vikings fans, unfortunately, obviously with now Zimmer and Spielman moving on, you get frustrated with the team, but you do respect the fact that those guys did a great job for us. We just couldn't quite get over the hump with a pretty good roster.
And you mentioned Spielman and Zimmer, and it seemed like time. I mean, but I don't know either one of those guys personally. They do, from the outside looking in, seem like pretty decent guys, like guys you'd want to be neighbors with. But it just seemed like time for a new start for everybody.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever easy to lose, especially in my case, right? Lose a friend, a colleague, a coach, a GM. I mean, these are guys that are really influential in my life. And so it's disappointing to see guys get fired, especially in the public eye like they are. And so many different people are affected by it, from kids and families, wives that are, now moving to different towns and homes and looking for jobs. And I mean, there's a lot of people affected by it. So you kind of look at the peripheral of what else is out there is affected. So it stinks. It's never easy, but at the same time, I think to your point, it sort of was time. And I think you need to start over and look at get a fresh set of eyes on the organization. And it just wasn't going the direction that anybody anticipated. And again, the ownership really did a good job of giving Zimmer 8 years to kind of get his plan together.
Going forward now, I know the Vikings are trying to move quick on getting a new GM so they can get their head coach search going. We'll start off on the GM side. What kinds of traits, what kind of a person would you like to see leading the Vikings now?
Yeah, it's interesting. You have to have definitely a kind of a progressive approach and a forward-thinking mentality. I think Zimmer sometimes was under indictment for maybe having a little bit of an old school, old football world mentality, and I think you can definitely win that way. But you have to have an aggressive, progressive approach offensively and defensively, and really have your eyes open. We all know that football is cyclical. The old school becomes the new school, and then the new school becomes the old school, just kind of in cycle. So right now it seems like it's an upcycle in offensive, obviously engagement with throwing the football a little bit more often. You have to have a quarterback that can really run the show. You have to have a guy that can really set audibles at the line of scrimmage. You have to have a GM and a coach now that are obviously going ahead and scheduling out a team and putting a roster together that can also act that way. So the nice part is we do have a pretty nice roster here. I think you're going to get candidates that want to come to Minnesota and lead this team.
As far as the head coach, I know it kind of depends a little bit on who's the GM, because the GM is going to want their own style, kind of a coach. I've always been a fan of Eric Bieniemy the last few years here. I think he would fit really nicely. Who are some of the coaches that you would like to see at least get interviews and get looked at for the Vikings job?
Yeah, I think the Flores firing down in Miami was really interesting. I thought it was, kind of off-putting in timing. I think that you look in the organization there that fired a guy too soon. But there are certainly some decent candidates out there. I think Doug Peterson's a really interesting candidate. I think, as you mentioned, Eric Bieniemy's a good candidate. I'd really like to see a candidate come in that was kind of more of a CEO type rather than kind of one direction on the offense or defense. And can you go get a guy that's out there that may be defensive or offensive focused, but is willing to give up some of those controls on play calling on game day so he can just be the head coach. That's kind of what I'd like to see the approach taken. Again, you have to trust the people you hire and put in place.
Do you see a quick timeline, or do you see the Vikings taking their time and saying, no, we want to get this right, doesn't matter if it takes 1 week or 1 month?
Yeah, I think you got to go fast. I think with the top candidates, which is what you want to have for a coach, you need to get your GM hired expeditiously. You need to start moving forward. You're kind of like in that moment now. I can remember that feeling of when I was waiting for surgery, right? You can't wait. You can't really recover until you get the surgery. You can't really move forward as an organization until you get this GM hired, because that's going to affect all the other dominoes. So I think you need to move pretty quickly here with the GM hire. I think you need to move that in another direction. And hopefully, if you're having conversations with coaches to say, hey, listen, you're in our top 3, you're in our top 5, whatever that might be. Once we get this GM hired, we really want you to hold on, not take another job, and come interview here. So that would be my guess. I would think that we'll have a GM hired here in the next few days.
Let's shift a little bit over to the playoff side of things, because this is the largest. It's the Super Wildcard Weekend, largest wildcard weekend there ever has been for the NFL. Do you like that extra team, the extra game that we're getting this weekend?
I do. I think it's good for the league. I think there's so much interest, right, in the NFL and the product that it presents. I think that more games is probably always a good thing. You look at the ratings. The NFL is just absolutely dominating. So I think you add a game, it adds more interest and intrigue. I think it's a good thing for the league. I know I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. So going to be a fun weekend. Probably one of the best weekends in sports.
If you were still playing, would you like that Monday playoff game? Because it does seem like whoever wins that Monday game, you got the short week and it's playoffs, and you'd like to give everybody the same equal amount of time to prepare for whatever you get the next week.
Yeah, you certainly can hope you can at least get 1 day back on scheduling, and go into that. But you can't control who's going to win and lose. So I think the scheduling is going to be really, really interesting to see. Obviously, they're layering into games because they want to get as many people's eyes on it. It's entertainment, right? So as a player, I would hate it, but as a business, I understand it, and I think they're doing it with good reason. I'm actually excited about it because I don't have to get ready to play the next week. So I'm excited there's more football on different days. But I think we can all agree that we want to watch all these games, and you'd like to layer them in over a couple days. So I think this is a pretty good approach. From a football standpoint, I would hate it.
Who do you like? We'll end with some predictions here. AFC, NFC, and this, we've talked about it for most of the season here. This is kind of a topsy-turvy. There's no real favorite here this year for the playoffs. But who do you like entering the playoffs to be in that Super Bowl?
Yeah, I actually believe the Titans. I think the Titans are getting healthy. Nobody believes them, and nobody's giving them much of a chance with the Chiefs over there in the AFC. I think the Titans have a team that can win in the playoffs and make it ugly and muck it up. Their defense is really good. They obviously play physical football, which wins this time of year. So I think it's a unpopular pick for some reason because of the style of play, and obviously what the Chiefs have done and how they've looked. I think in the NFC, what's scary is how healthy the Bucs just got. Levante David's back. I mean, they have some of their top players coming back, and Fournette's now back. I mean, you're going to get healthy at the absolute right time with one of the most powerful, offenses with Brady and his ability to throw the football. So can anybody get to him? Can anybody get to him? And the other thing is Brady's got to go through Green Bay. So he's got to go up in the weather. He's obviously played in New England for a number of years. He can play through the elements. I think those two teams are the teams to beat. I think the dark horse here is Buffalo. I think if Buffalo gets it going with Diggsy, obviously Allen, if they can find a running game here in the playoffs, I think that's the dark horse to come out of the AFC.
Sounds good. We'll check in a couple of weeks and see how you're doing then.
You bet. Yeah. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you, Chad Greenway. I'm Joel Niemeyer on the MN Scores Blitz.
The MN Sports Blitz has been produced by KDUZ, KARP, KGLB, and the Ingstad, Minnesota Radio Network. Complete episodes are available on our website and on YouTube.